Tonight, our speaker is Erin Gizzle, the First Lady of the American Screen. The First Lady of the American Screen, Erin Gizzle.
Madam Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Fasten your seatbelts, it's going to be a bumpy night. Standing a modest 5 foot, 3.5 inches, with brown hair and blue eyes, Betty Davis was a force to be reckoned with on and off the screen. Born Ruth Elizabeth Davis on April 5th in 1908 in Lowell, Massachusetts, Betty's life began modestly. Her father left the family just before her 10th birthday. Not to be deterred by poverty or single motherhood, her mother scraped together every penny and sent Betty and her sister Barbara away to boarding school, where they had a fine education. Betty even continued on to the John Murray Anderson Dramatic School, where she studied screenplays and practiced her enunciation with other soon-to-be famous actresses like Lucille Ball. In 1930, Betty signed a contract with Universal Pictures and appeared in 6 films. Just 5 short years later, Betty earned Warner Brothers' very first Oscar for Best Actress. She appeared in Jezebel in 1939 and earned her second Oscar for Best Actress. She was a woman of accomplishment. Her career spanned over 6 decades, and during that time, she appeared in 100 films. In 1977, she earned the American Film Institute's legendary Screen Actors Award, the highest honor you can earn. As a young girl, I grew up watching films for the 1930s and 40s. What can I say? My mother had me when she was 38, and except for public television, that's all I was allowed to watch. Some Sesame Street, but I'll tell you, I loved it. And I've used Betty Davis and her life story as an example for my own, both personally and as a Toastmaster. Betty always persevered. She saw an opportunity to act, to create, as the meat and potatoes of her life. The money, she always said, was just gravy. I started my career as a Toastmaster in May of 2009, and I'll tell you, it was the best decision I've ever made for myself. It's been an amazing experience, and I got off to a great start. I had a very welcoming club. They took me in. I didn't have 1, not 2, I had 50 mentors. Our club is rather large, and everyone came to me to give me support and encouragement and feedback so that I could improve. I earned my Competent Communicator Award and my Competent Leader Award in my first year and a half. I was Vice President of Membership, and I found my niche in impromptu speaking. I'll confess, however, prepared speeches still terrify me. I would much rather be one of the evaluation contestants tonight than the pattern speaker. And my fellow Toastmasters kept trying to give me words of encouragement. They said, Erin, it's okay. If you mess up, that just gives the evaluator something to say. You guys are going to have plenty of material tonight, trust me. In 2010, and I don't know exactly what happened, but that fire that I had for Toastmasters was extinguishing. I was no longer so involved. I didn't want to be a club officer. I'll admit, I never wanted to give prepared speeches, but instead of forcing myself, I just decided, let the VPE schedule me when he wants, and then I oftentimes found a replacement. I had lots of things to blame it on. My career was extremely busy. I was working 60 hours a week plus. pretty busy social life that I was trying to mend together, with my family so far away, I felt like I was just being pulled in so many different directions. And I will admit, I became disengaged. And I was really mad at myself because in my career as a human resource manager, I promote Toastmasters. I tell my employees every day who are struggling because they're afraid to give a speech in front of their team, because a manager doesn't know how to deliver feedback, I tell them, go to Toastmasters. Maybe our club, sorry. See, I told you I'm afraid of this. But maybe our company has a club, or maybe there's a club in your area, and I direct them to Toastmasters International, and I tell them exactly where they can go to find all the clubs in their area. But I didn't have that same inspiration for myself. And I reflected on Betty Davis's career, because she said that while not perfect, her life was ideal. And just after World War II, even for Betty Davis, work was hard to come by. She was in her 40s then, and Hollywood wanted the young actresses, those in their 20s, the up-and-coming starlets. So what did Betty do? She starred in 1951's film, All About Eve. All About Eve was a film just made for Betty in her life situation. It was a movie about a starlet that was struggling to get roles because of her age, but she came back with fire, both again, on and off the screen. And her career took off and continued on for many more years. So I thought for myself, I had to do that with Toastmasters. I have to be involved. I have to raise my hand. I can't depend on Toastmasters always to pick me up. I have to put into it what I expect to get out of it. And I had very close friends within my club and at the area and district levels that helped me with that. And I'm forever thankful to them. I'm volunteering to be the Vice President of Education in our club this upcoming term, and I'm excited again. And it's really great to feel that again. So what I would say to everyone here, no matter your level of experience with Toastmasters, no matter how long you've been with Toastmasters, look deep inside for that fire and harness it, because the possibilities with this organization are endless. Just think of our district conference and how much fun we're all having here tonight. Wasn't that costume contest amazing? That was so much fun. There's other opportunities just like that waiting around the corner. So no matter how my life progresses, no matter how my career as a Toastmaster progresses, I hope that people will look at me the way they looked at Betty Davis and think, she was successful, she did it the hard way. Madam Contest Master.
Contestant number 1 tonight, Kathleen Arnold. Kathleen Arnold.
Madam Contest Master, distinguished Toastmasters, and honored guests. When our pattern speaker this evening took the stage, it was evident she had given great preparation to her speech tonight. She talked about a star that many of us know, even though she's no longer with us, Betty Davis. She themed her speech around our fun event tonight, so she was on target from the very start. It was evident that she had a passion for what she was doing because her arms were moving. Her voice was animated. She was looking at all of us, and you could just feel the energy. She validated right away that Betty Davis was a star. She'd accomplished many things, 100 films in fact, and and the top awards. But she made it clear to us also that it didn't come easy. It was with sacrifice and struggle. And then she beautifully transitioned how Betty's life mirrored hers. She shared quite personally how much Toastmasters meant to her, how involved she had been from the start. But just like many of us, the day-to-day activities of life wear us down. She talked about being away from family. She talked about many hours at work. And she talked about how being up in front of an audience isn't easy. She showed her vulnerability. And with that, she related, I think, to each and every one of us in the room. Erin, you did a fine job. Actually, you did an amazing job in a crowd like this, taking on an arduous task of being the pattern speaker. If I were to give you any feedback, it would perhaps be to make better use of the entire stage. I felt lucky because I was on that side of the room, but I think the rest of the audience would have enjoyed you equally as much. I commend you because there was only one time that I saw you slip out an and you caught yourself. You apologized, but again, it just made it more human. It just was a point where we could all almost breathe and say, even the best do it. But most of all, I found your speech to be motivational. It challenged me, and I'm sure everyone here felt challenged, because you said, you get what you put in. And isn't that really why we are all a member of Toastmasters? You challenged us to stretch and to reach for the limitless heights that Toastmasters can offer. So I congratulate you, I thank you, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Please welcome contestant number 2, Raymond Allen. Raymond Allen.
Madam Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and Erin, especially you. Erin, there are a number of things that you did that were absolutely fantastic. Things that I really liked about your presentation this evening. First of all, it's very obvious to me that you are very humorous. So you said several things that were very funny that got the audience in each side of the room to really smile and to laugh. One of the things that came to mind is you said, I really don't want to be a speaker, I'd rather be an evaluator. And then you lost your spot for a second. And then you said, see, I'm going to give them a lot of opportunities to do for their presentation tonight. So I thought that was funny. Other things that you did extremely well, you used very vivid language in your description of Betty Davis. You said Betty Davis is 5'3". She's got blue eyes. You painted a picture of Betty Davis almost to the point where I could see her as you were talking about her. So very good job with that as well. Now, I'm glad you came back to Toastmasters because you have an opportunity to be a very good communicator. And I'm going to share a couple of things that if you just take a couple of these, you could become significantly better going forward. A couple of things that came to mind. First of all, you had great humor, but you didn't stop and pause after you got the laughter from the crowd. Every fantastic communicator learns the art of pausing. And so you, in order to become an even greater communicator, you have to focus on pausing. Not just after laughter, but in general. Learn to use the pause to your advantage. Another thing that you could work on, your gestures were pretty good and they were natural. However, there's a center point that you want to focus in using your gestures. There were times when your hands were out here like this. That to me says, or could send the message, I don't really care. I'm just kind of up here. If you keep your gestures here and you drive your gestures down towards the ground, you really are focusing in on the gestures. So for the most part, they were pretty good, but when they're way out here, that almost means you really don't hear. And then lastly, I'd like to see you vary your voice a little bit more. I think you can be more interesting if you vary your voice. You can vary your voice with the volume, or you can lower your voice. If you really want to draw the crowd in, talk softly, and you'll get their attention. Also with the pacing of your voice. Sometimes you want to speed it up, sometimes you want to slow it down. There were times when you almost seemed out of breath. And I said, she's speaking pretty fast. She wants to slow it down sometimes. So focus on your humor. Make sure that you do the pausing. And I think that if you take a couple of these points with you, you can become an even greater communicator. Madam Contest Master.
Our third contestant is Debbie Lacey Anderson. Debbie Lacey Anderson.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guest, Erin, thank you for this opportunity. Tonight, I'd like to think about your speech as when we cook a good meal, we have to have the right kind of spices in it. When we create a great speech, we need the same thing. We need it to make it spicy. So I'm going to use the acronym of SPICE to talk about your speech. We started out, you had a wonderful structure to your speech. You started with the story of Betty Davis, and you ended with the story of Erin. And during that time, Erin took us through Betty's life and the situation she went through, and then how that paralleled to your life and the way you conquered your fears just like Betty did hers. Your physical part of your speech might be the place where I could ask for a little change in the way you do things, and I'm doing the same thing I'm going to tell you to do. You stayed in this part of the stage during your speech when we still have a lot of people over here to talk to. And as I'm doing that, I know that's very difficult to do, but that's one thing I think all of us as Toastmasters need to do is work on using the entire space that we have. Erin's speech physically came from her heart. One thing I would suggest for improving your next speech is to have it work on the diaphragm. Your heart's there. You've got that part of the speech. But you have some problems with, I think, your breathing because you were nervous, just like I am right now. And these microphones pick that up. So you might work on learning where that microphone is and where that doesn't interfere with the breathing part of your speech. Your impact on us, on me, was tremendous. To hear about how Toastmasters was so hard for you to do, but yet you did it anyway. You talked about that you had a fire inside you that was becoming extinguished. I love that metaphor because I could see that happening with a lot of people, and you overcame that. And that was wonderful. I think that would inspire anybody here. We always want to be entertained and engaged, and Erin did that for us tonight with her stories. When she told me about, first of all, I was wondering why a young woman like you would be watching Betty Davis to know who she even was. And then when you told us about your mom having you at a later age and you watching the movies, I could envision you doing that as a little girl and how that could influence you. Because Betty was a spicy lady too. She had a lot going for her. In closing, you asked us to take action. You said, be like Betty. Search for your role and find your fire. So you inspired us with your speech. So in summary, breathe and let yourself go into that speech and follow your dreams. Thank you, Erin.
Contestant number 4, Thomas Hewling. Thomas Hewling.
Thank you, Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and friends, and a special thanks to Aaron for a very inspiring and heartfelt speech. Aaron, I think you did a couple of things really, really well tonight. The first thing I think you did was your use of pauses was excellent. Mark Twain said, "The right word may be effective, but no word was ever effective as a rightly timed pause." And you started at the very, very beginning when you came out on the stage, which is not easy to do, by just pausing, giving us time, grabbing our attention. I think you did that very effectively. Another thing I think you did very well is smiling. They say that a smile is the shortest distance between two people. And I think even through your admitted nerves, you did a great job of smiling to bridge that gap between you and the audience. In order to take an already very good speech and enhance it even further, which is something we all share in common here, one of the things I think you can do even more effectively is add enthusiasm to your speaking. So as an example, a couple of lines that you said pretty mildly that you could have put some more fire into included, "She appeared in 100 films." When you're talking about earning an Oscar, you said just 5 short years later. With a great pause, that's what you could do. I'll tell you, it was the best decision I ever made. So we want to see that enthusiasm. We want it to burn in us, and we'll feel it through your passion and enthusiasm. Another thing I think you can do to enhance it even further is move around a little more. And I'm guessing you've already heard that tonight. William Shakespeare said, "All the world is a stage." And I suggest that all your stage be your world, and that you get out and visit us over here in Timbuktu, and go over to the Netherlands, and let us enjoy you a little bit more, around us more. But the best thing that I think you did was your sincerity and honesty, I think, grabbed our attention and endeared us to you. A couple of those lines that were really wonderful is admitting to us that you'd rather be an evaluator than a speaker tonight. The speaking was a nerve-wracking thing which we can all relate to. You also talked about how grateful and thankful you were for the people that helped rekindle the fire in you. And you talked about the fire for Tim was your fire for Toastmasters was extinguishing. So overall, in summary, I think you did a great job using pauses and smiling. I think you could add even more enthusiasm and more movement. Keep up the great sincerity. We love you for that. And overall, I'd like to thank you for amazing, heartfelt speech and for reminding us that the fire still burns within all of us.
Contestant number 5, David Snow. David Snow.
Madam Contest Master, dignitaries, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and especially Aaron. Aaron, you had me from the start. What an event we had here, and mentioning Betty Davis as an iconic First Lady of the theater. I thought I was going to hear the history of her life and her movies and what it was. You started there. And then you hooked me in when you started comparing her life with your life. It was an excellent parallel of how she came up, and you quoted some very significant statistics. 5 years, she had her first Oscar, up till the last time when she had the highest award possible, the legendary award that she received. You paralleled her, and you gave illustrations and examples of what you did. It was an excellent opportunity for me to see how much you liked Toastmasters and what Toastmasters meant to you. The opportunity for you to share with me and the rest of the audience certainly brought about an excellent excellent opportunity that gave me more insight to you. You went down just a little bit, you rose back up, and you ended the speech with something that I thought I wasn't going to see, and that was a call for action. If you feel the fire, go for it. And that's what you brought to this audience, was your beliefs on what Toastmasters did to you. What I really think is the overall topic of what you said was bringing a one-time iconic movie star and how your life paralleled it. Now, I did see some things that I would like to comment that might have added a little bit to your speech. Initially, I recognized some of the, I call them elbows tied here. You were somewhat tied down and restricted. But as you got into your speech, I saw the fire begin. Because you raised your hand and said, yes, I want to. I will take that next job. And you had gone through all of that. The other thing I might suggest, and I call this work in the audience, where I'm standing where you stood, I see the lectern may have blocked their view from you. Maybe a walk across the stage and use the whole podium to talk to them, make eye contact, bring them into you, allow them to see the same fire and to see the same ambition that you had. I think you put them together with a bookend. You had me directly at the beginning when you brought in Betty Davis and where she was and what she did. And you closed it with what you did, and then how that paralleled with her final legendary award. I thank you very much for your speech, and I am very proud to have you as a fellow Toastmaster. Thank you.
Okay, the moment you have all been waiting for. We will start from third place down to first place for the District 8 Evaluation Contest. First winning third place in the speech contest goes to Kathleen Arnold. So we welcome Kathleen. Second place, District 8 Evaluation Contest goes to Raymond Allen. And first place District 8 Evaluation Contest winner goes to, good job, Thomas Hewley.